How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today got a couple more missions done. I'm going to do kind of like overlapping, but repair the sawmill, which is fixing a road, and then also this, like fixing the backup pump station to drain the swamp. I'm going to have to deliver 8 steel beams over here. You can see there's a patch of swamp water that I wasn't sure if the vehicle would be able to get through or not without building a road. So I kind of figured, regardless, like there's a lot of chewed up terrain along here, so I wanted the road building equipment around so I could like potentially fix a road to go to that backup pump station. So it kind of worked out nicely, just also doing the sawmill pump, the sawmill road. Get the goddamn horse, recover or recall the road building stuff, and then for what it's worth, like I purposely. There's lots of trees you could do with knocking down on this road anyway, so it kind of worked out, but I purposely wanted to spawn the road building equipment on this side of the sawmill so that they end up, when they've finished the road, on the other side, which is kind of nearer to where I then want to sort of tamper a little bit and build my own roads. Yeah, to be fair, this route is actually fairly easy. Once you obviously go through and knock all the trees down, you might be able to send like the bike, and it might well knock its own trees down, but it's just one, I wanted to start from this side anyway, and two, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the best of hope in the AI to begin with, so I suppose knocking the trees out of the way. Every little helps. So then I thought, whilst the road's ticking along, I'll spawn a mule at my new tunnel exit base, which is kind of down in this same location. And I thought I had a load of steel beams, which I've got, but they're at the steel mill. They're not actually, like, I've not put them in my own storage. So I thought, right, fair enough, I'll just let them tick along, let the dump truck get a bit further ahead first. And it just so happened from a previous mission, I had this heavy transport vehicle over at the sawmill and a large crane. So I thought, instead of just driving like a mule all the way over here and then driving it back to my base, yeah, I'll just load this thing up. Get 8 of them on there. I've got to be honest, I've still got about 15 or whatever beams. I should have just loaded all of them on there because I'm going to my storage anyway. Although, to be fair, in the future there might be a situation where it's quicker to access the beams at this steel mill than actually go into my storage. But yeah, so now I'm going to drive down to, I can't remember what they called the first base actually, because normally it's a tunnel exit base, but that's like the third base I've unlocked on this map. But whatever, driving back to the starting base with yeah, 8 steel beams, get them loaded into my storage, and then that kind of transfers across, so when I spawn back to the mule at the tunnel exit base, I can grab my steel beams. I thought maybe we might have actually found some kind of load that this trailer and truck can actually handle without getting stuck. It appears we've finally found one. 8 beams. To be fair, if you put 8 beams in that Alkes 400 thing, that'd pretty much be bottomed out on the floor with that bar at the back of it scraping along and all sorts. So, yeah, I suppose it could be worse. But I just thought this would probably be a little bit quicker than doing both journeys. At least it was already there, and I had the big crane there, so it's got to be about as quick as I could loading up the steel beams. And there's a bit of choppy editing going on in this video for 2 reasons. One, I was running a little late and I thought it would take longer to edit. Normally when I edit, I've got like usually a good 20 videos to import and then obviously go through all them and chop them up. Tonight I only had 8, even though they're all quite long videos. Yeah, it actually wasn't as much editing as I thought in the end. But, well, and as well, like chopping sort of large chunks out, because certain bits like building the road, we've seen it happen a million times, and then patches I was fixing, I kind of left little bits in, but there's no point in really leaving all the footage in of me slowly creeping forward, refilling the bucket, and then tipping another 10 foot of road and so on, rinse and repeat really. I don't mind doing it, I've got to say, it's not like, not to sort of downplay it, I can sort of zone out in my own little world and build roads for a few hours and be perfectly happy, but just as far as then making a video of it, it gets a little bit repetitive when you're just watching it and you're not actually doing it. Yeah, I thought this thing was going to struggle getting up this hill. Repair the sawmill and drain in the swamp. It's a bit of a long thumbnail that one. I might have to narrow it down. That's how far I got with the bridge layer yesterday. To be fair, I might have to stash it back in my garage, because as I said, it stole a bridge off me on one of the vehicles that was fully folded up on the vehicle as well, so it's pretty weird that it just decided to pick one off. But yeah, thinking about it, that part there, it might do the same thing. Yeah, and it was only when I got to here I thought, oh, I should have just brought more slabs while I'm at it, or beams or whatever. But I need 8 for this mission, so got 8, transferred them into my storage. That now transfers across to this base. And then yeah, the route I'm going to go from my tunnel exit base up here, and then I've already got the cable layer nearby from a previous mission, so again that worked out pretty nicely as far as that goes. I just wanted to find out before I start taking the road building stuff there. The swamp section might be really shallow anyway, and then you can sort of drive across it with no issues. I hit both those trees. It looks like just bad driving, but when I was steering it wasn't, I don't know, it might be a bit like that mud where you skid around, but it didn't feel like the game was, I don't know, listening to the inputs I was putting in. I kind of steered and it just went straight, and then at one point I was trying to go straight and it started like scooting off to the side, so I managed to hit 2 trees just getting out of the base. And then yeah, you can see here it's kind of cutting along, got some of the way, but then engine flooded, so I was like, before it goes too wrong, back it up. Oh yeah, then I kind of didn't realise for a minute or two, but then once you fix the Sawmill road, you know how this game tends to just slip another mission in there as it does? It then does an infrastructure route, which is actually pretty easy. You set off from that tunnel in the bottom left, but just follow the road you've freshly built, and it's Vorons, I believe it sends, so it's not that difficult. Like they are able to get there with just the road you've built, even though I'm going to fix some of the route up a bit later in this video. So yeah, at this point drove the bicycle over to here where I've got to get across that little island, and essentially yeah, just going in reverse, dumping sand, so at least yeah, kind of piles up the sand as I'm reversing so I can get a bit deeper. That's what she said. Yeah, sent in the, what do you call it, dozer. I think in the end it probably took about 5 lots of sand. You can't refill the sand thing here, but it's only just back before the road that thankfully the radius of the sand quarry is there, so yeah, you've only got to do a little bit of reversing, nothing too crazy. I certainly didn't want to waste my time getting this scalper out. Yeah, so eventually when I just kept flattening the road, once the dozer made it over, I knew, one, this thing definitely would, because it's got a taller kind of snorkel than the dozer, but also the cable layer that I want to get across here. I believe they're the same chassis as the dozer and the cable layer, so if that got over here, the cable layer should be able to do the same. I might possibly tweak the road in the future, I don't really know, but yeah, it was just enough to get me across the water. Again, I didn't want to do anything like too crazy, because I know I was going to use this cable layer to go across my road, so I'm essentially going to dig like a big mound up in the middle of the road I've just built. So I thought I want to get that done first, then worst case I could go back over with sand afterwards or whatever. For whatever reason, I was saying like there's solid ground there, so I had to go sort of around a little bit, move the bike out of the way. But at this point I can just follow my own road along. I don't know, there's a possibility the ground underneath me now might be solid ground, but I remember someone saying a while ago, if you lay sand, you can essentially lay a cable anywhere you want, because it digs through the sand, so in theory, even if there is solid ground underneath, that's like a way around it. I assume for cutting across most of the swamp, it'd be fine anyway, but obviously just back there I hit some kind of solid terrain, so I think laying the sand kind of back there as far as I did probably worked out in my favour in the end anyway. Yeah, so like I said, same chassis as these two vehicles, so if the dozer made it, I knew this thing would. A bit of a slow one. I didn't fast forward it for once. It's one of the rare times it got the full clipping, because I didn't really have to go that far. Like I say, thankfully from doing the cable layer mission the other day, I ended up at that main power station thing that was basically behind me, so worked out pretty well. And get to here, it ticks it off, but it's just one of those missions where you've actually got to click onto the mission and manually, I think it's press right on the D-pad to confirm it. Then you get a little cutscene. I suppose it's trying to hint that the water's lowering, but honestly I don't see it drop at all. If you look at like the rungs on the ladders, I think they forgot to like add the animation where the water drains, but it does, because there's my road I just laid that was previously underwater a minute or so ago. The bad news is, well, I mean, yeah, it is. There's a big hump in my road, not that, but some of the missions it unlocked, I was like, oh no. Yep, it's the bloody chemical barrels, which again, I don't even know if they had a health bar on them. I assume they do, but I didn't actually look in the mission. But yeah, I'll just damage them and take them the easy way. And then now, I just kind of want to fix this road going down to the bottom corner, really, because there is another mission that's to move like a construction vehicle or whatever. And there's all these chunks missing out the road. So I came down here with the bicycle, which there's not a sand radius down there. I've got to drive back up the road a bit, so it's a little bit, I don't know, it's one of them where it's like too far that it's annoying, but fairly close to where it's probably not worth bringing the scalper, because that's just a time wasting bastard. Yeah, for what it's worth, when I got here, you see those big planks behind me? They've got like the black and white tape sort of X'd across them. There, normally that implies like, one, it's movable, but two, it's kind of like you can use it as a platform. And I'd already spotted them and I knew what I could, and I think in the end, yeah, I do go down with a crane and kind of, I already knew I'd probably rather just fill these gaps with sand basically instead of using these, but I went and got the footage for demonstration purposes just to sort of show why, really. In certain locations, like what was it, Incommunicado, where I found two of these and it was getting into the quarry, but they had like sort of gaps that they slotted into very well, so they sat flush, whereas obviously I already knew with these they're just going to sit like that basically, which looks fine. You think, yeah, well, I could certainly drive across it. However, the issue with these, it's not bad in some ways, they're really light, so they're actually a lot easier to pick up. Even with like a smaller crane vehicle, they're actually not that bad. But when you drive on them, they just get bumped out of the way all the time, and I don't think any of it is propping up against my sand. It's just, yeah, it is how it is. I've laid a few of these before. That's what she said. And I kind of find the same thing, except for Incommunicado, because it had like the little recesses sort of cut out for them to slot into. And obviously that looks sketchy at the best of times, even if it theoretically stayed where it was. Or I could have moved it a bit, but as you can see, as soon as I reverse, this one starts moving around again, and it was like, yeah, I just, at this point, like if AI has to come down here, they're going to knock them about and get stuck on them in 2 seconds flat, so I just accept the inevitable, knock them kind of back out of the way a bit, and then did a few runs for a bit more sand. Vehicle tried to attack me. And yeah, it looks like there is, I don't know, they've made it sort of awkward. You could preferably do driving through it, but it looks like you can circle round from the left. But this last bit here, you can sort of see in the background, maybe you could jump up those rocks into the trees. But yeah, I do think in the scheme of things it's probably worth fixing. Just get it done, really. Again, if you want to bring a scalper, it all depends. This is the problem, that I don't like the scalper. If I knew it'd deploy, it would objectively saved me a bit of time having to go back and forth to get to the sand quarry radius. But knowing that it's a time-wasting bastard, I may well bring it down here and spend the next hour trying to deploy it, and it not deploy. And even though you think, look in the background now, like, oh, that looks like a sandy surface, I've seen plenty of sandy surfaces that it doesn't deploy on. So, yeah, that's like the problem with it, really. But then it sort of annoys you knowing that when you're driving back and forth to the sand quarry radius, you kind of know there is theoretically a feature to avoid that, but it doesn't work very well. So one way or another, you kind of feel like you're either taking a gamble with your time, or you feel like you're wasting time, but also knowing if you try to save that time and get the scalper out, you'll probably end up wasting more time and be back to square one anyway. So now I've got like all that built. I can go up here. There's the road, Sawmill road it made me build, and then I built all of this. That sort of gets that whole bottom left of the map kind of connected up a lot easier, really. I do need to get a road cutting across from the bottom left to the bottom right, really. But this is a good chunk of it. Once I'm at like that Sawmill and everything, that's about where I wanted the road. Yeah, get yourself a loaf, of course. That's the conclusion we came to. 51%, so just over halfway now. I think it's almost exactly like just over halfway. Got 12 of 24 infrastructure, 16 of 32 completed objectives, and 6 out of 11 side objectives, so just a tad over halfway for that one. Most of the map uncovered, just the very top left really. I've got a few clouds to uncover. Yeah, getting pretty close though. I like that I've got all the bases unlocked now. Money's pretty rounded up. See that last $68 or whatever currency it's talking about. I'd rather get rid of that. That was them bonuses for the bloody chemical barrels that threw that out of whack instead of being nice round numbers. But anyway, yeah, that's it for today. Like I say, a pretty sort of boring, simple one, but probably worth it. Getting a load of roads connected up and all the rest of it. Yeah, that's it for today though. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf because he's a beast, and I'll be back soon.